All right, guys, let's continue on with some Tasmanian devil style metalwork. Got lots to do on this thing. On these parts alone, I've got so much to do. And once this is done, pretty quickly, once I get this on there, on the truck, back on the truck, it's probably going to go together. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna say too quick because, I mean, this could take years, you know, but I'm gonna try and turn it into months, maybe. Let's see. All right, talk to you guys in the next portion. let's take a look at what's happening over here real quick. I got the weld on those little tabs for the wiring. Started to pull the wiring harness through. It's a little tricky to do, and just takes. What I got to do is get some of that lube. I got some coming. I don't know when it's going to get here, but I ordered some a while back. I got checking that right now. I got these tubes welded in here. The heater tubes. You can see there welds on there. A little tricky. You got to be careful not to burn through them. Here's what I did here. I just put these together, and it's not the prettiest thing, but it's on there pretty good. And I just wrapped a piece of, I butted them together and didn't weld them. You can't butt weld that thing that small. It's too hard to do. Maybe somebody else could, but I can't. So I butted them together really nice so they're perfectly, you know, there's no gap or anything. And then I tacked them both together here, and then we're already tacked together up here. And then put this piece of metal around and tacked them in place. So I put it on one of them, tacked it, made sure they stayed together, wrapped it around carefully, and then tack around it to get it to stay in place. So they should be fine. And I got this thing welded on. Got to move that over a little bit. And that one's welded on there. So you can see it's ready for the heater cables. I always like to have it all ready, even if I don't use the heater. I always like to have the heater hooked up. Then I've got my floors coming right now. They should be here. I should be able to get them tomorrow. But we got some really interesting information on the floors for the single cab. They do have the correct ones at Wolfsburg West. We're going to find out how that they weld in, which is different than the regular bus. So they're the same shape as the bus. I mean, as far as the general shape goes, but they weld it, the way they weld in is different. And if you guys are doing a single cab, you're going to want to see that part on those floors. You could use bus floors if, you know, like if you were on a tight budget, you found some at a swap meet, like Musty One did that. He found some at a swap meet. Don't go thinking you're going to find some cheap floors at a swap meet. I haven't seen that in years. So back when he did his years ago, it was available, not now that I've ever seen. So don't figure you're going to bank on that like what he did. He used regular bus floors and just modified them, and they would work, but you have to cut a hole for the gas tank, you know, outlet, all that stuff, and it'd be a pain. It's a lot easier to get the right ones, and Wolfsburg West does have them. And for those of you guys who are in Florida, also so does Classic Fab has them too. So if you're in that area, it might be worth driving down to go pick them up because they're so expensive to ship. So keep that in mind. And I like his metal. It's a little thicker, so I do like it. I think he uses the proper 19 gauge. Most of them use 20, which is fine, but you know, it is a little better. This is what you call Patch City. Got a whole city of them. They're all sitting together. That's a Patch City. This whole thing's a Patch City. Look at all this. And I got the side to do. Still got this thing. I don't even know how I'm going to make these. I might. I don't know. Maybe. Thinking about it. Not a hard thing to do. I could make that side. But they sell the whole piece. It's not expensive really, but I don't know. I just kind of done with buying too many parts. Got all these filled in. Spot welded the edges of this one over this side. A little bit of here too. Well, surprise, surprise. The gas tank has holes in it. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was salvageable. I've seen ones that were worse looking. I mean, it's like right here along the seam. It looks like it was toasted. And there's a hole right there. Pretty good size one. And I think I saw one in the bottom too. Somewhere it was like right in here or something. Some pinholes. Right there. Right chair, I think. Yeah, I think if I grind that, it's going to be gone. So anyway, Wolfsburg West sells them. They aren't cheap, but yeah, it could be J and B welded, I guess, huh? But I don't know. Think of getting a deal on it too, so we'll go there. The pickup tube was broke off too, but look what you can do. Just flip it over. Problem solved. This is the old pickup. Flip it over. You got the new one. So I picked these up today. Yeah. Got some work to do here. I was putting them in, and they hit the back of the frame, maybe? Well, not quite. Not on that side. I was looking on this side, probably because my frame shape, I know right there, was a little bit funky. Yeah, I think that one's a little funky. So I have to kind of beat a little section out of that, huh? Get them to set down. It's not that bad. It's just a little up right here. I just beat that down a little bit with a hammer. Straighten that out. And then I got to see how much clearance there actually was in there. The thing I noticed is these are the actual single cab floors. These come from Wolfsburg West. These are you guys in Europe. I think BBT is going to be stocking these same ones. So if you're looking at, single cab stuff, BBT is going to have these exact same floors, I believe. These are the same manufacturer that Wolfsburg West. A lot of guys, different guys, got them from these guys. It's Taiwan made, and they're actually decently made. They're not. The Taiwanese stuff is actually not bad. It's the stuff from China. Sometimes it's the worst. So yeah, these aren't bad. I got some fitment issues in the front, looks like. I'm not sure if they need to go up further or if it's in the right place. I gotta kind of look around on the other van and see where they're setting, and then I'll figure that part out. Well, this thing's sticking out a little bit, huh? Remember, I set this back just a little bit, so it might be actually right. So it's not a real big deal. If that's out of the way, you can fake that in. Work the metal around a little bit. I'm going to do some faking, boys. So, got these things. That way I can actually figure out a few more things with these. A couple of things that I noticed on these. If you're putting single cab floors in, I've never done single cab floors. I was over at Brian Washburn's shop. One of the best metalwork guys around. He makes my stuff look like crap. I mean, he's, but you're paying a lot for it. So, you're paying for metalwork. I'm not a metalwork guy. I did body work and paint. So that's different than a metal guy who just does just metal. He doesn't do paint or body work or anything like that. So, I look at it from a different standpoint. He's doing it just for the metal. I'm doing it for the finished work. I'm going to put filler on it and make it look right when I'm done. He just tries to sell it as metal, so it's going to look, way better than mine. So anyway, this thing right here, see how this lip is? If you look at a bus, they don't have this lip right here. Okay, it just goes up like that, and then it stops. So if you're doing a single cab that still has, all the parts on it, like I'm making a new one, right? This back piece, you're going to want to cut off this edge and then leave the old edge on the back part of yours so that you can butt these up against it. Because mine, I'm putting that other piece on, how they originally built it, I'm putting this piece on top of it. I'm not going to be able to pinch weld from back here like they did originally. I'm not going to be able to go underneath and drill and spot weld. If you've ever tried to weld upward, it's a losing battle. So what I'm going to do is put the piece on top, and then I'm going to weld along here. That's how I'm going to do it. In fact, I was talking to Brian. He goes, "That's how I would do it too in his shop." And he says, it's just too hard. You can't do a good job the other way. There's no way to get equipment in there to do it the way they did originally, because they did it in a different method than what someone who's doing repairs is doing. So he does it that way too. And we were just chit-chatting about stuff. I'll get by there and show you guys some of the work he does in another video. That'd be kind of neat. I think you guys would dig that. He does some really amazing metal work, and like I said, he's in a completely different game than what I do. He's a metal man. I don't do metal. I'm like a body man. I want to say I'm not really a body man. I was actually a painter. So I was a painter in a body shop many years ago, and just so you know how it works, the painter is actually the one kind of like running the show, if I want to say, because if the painter's crap, the work is crap, and usually there's 4 or 5 body men and 1 painter, and it's a lot of responsibility. That's one of the reasons I just didn't want to do it anymore. It was really hard for the money he made, and I didn't think the money was going anywhere. I thought it was going to go downhill. So I was kind of like, you know what? This doesn't look good. When they're changing the spray guns, they're making us change everything. I was like, man, I think I'm just going to go do something else. And that's kind of where I was at. So anyway, well, that's how that worked out. But anyway, we got the floors. So I can start setting stuff on here and kind of check it out. Do some mock-up. I'm going to be doing that tomorrow a little bit. Let you guys check that out. Looks kind of cool. And I got to do my outriggers still. I'm going to make those out of square rectangle tubing. Bet you didn't know you could do this. That's 1.5 by 3 rectangle tubing. And voila. A little bit of adjustment there. And your outriggers and your jack points will fit right on that. This one's going to take a little more work. You can see how far off that one is. But I can make it work. I'll have to use the porta power and stretch them out a little bit. And I'll put these underneath. And what I'm going to do is cut these at an angle. So say like this. I'll cut this piece at say about like that. And then it will taper upward. Then I'll cut the top edge down. And then make the outrigger out of that thing. That's my plan. Anyway, we'll check that out later. I think what I'm going to do is kind of, you guys might think this is backwards, but I'm actually going to set this rocker on, because what I'm going to do eventually, I am going to actually make this entire quarter panel, because basically it's just flat with a little bit of a roll to it, and then it has the flat lip for the edge. Very easy to make. There's no vents or anything like that to put in here, so not like for a bus, it's a lot easier. So I'm going to make that. That's like $300 and something dollars, I think it was. I forget. $380, so almost $400 by the time you pay tax. For that quarter, and I just think that's just way too much money. So I'll make it. It's about $50 for a sheet of metal, and a lot cheaper for me to go that way. And I don't think it really will take me a lot of time to make. But what I did is I bought this rocker, because this portion of it's a lot harder to make, right? With these little ribs. These are like $30. So I'm gonna go ahead and weld that on. And then if you notice here, I'm kind of jumping back and forth because it's like 108 probably today. So I don't want to be out here in the heat. So I'm going to do the air conditioning stuff inside the garage a little bit later, go back to the finishing that back piece. But if you notice here, these are made for the double treasure chest door. And I think that's kind of a problem for a lot of people. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a little L piece that goes right here to make it like that, right? Because let's say, I don't know, somebody could put something inside here and it would go down to Never Never Land, and you'd never be able to get it out, because it's like a sizable gap, about ½ inch or ¾ of an inch. I don't know what it's going to be by the time I set the floors, but I'm just saying. So I'll probably take this little thing off, okay, and just put a piece of flat metal across there with an L bend to it. And I'm going to put the floors in early in the game. Not going to say exactly when, but want to put the floors in early in the game versus, and then I'm going to, that way I can weld. I think I'm going to weld them in. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I made panel adhesive. I'm not sure. Either way, it will be plenty strong. But I want to put the floors in because it's a lot harder to crawl in that little hole and go inside and weld them. So, I'm going to put these on before I put the bed tops on. I'm actually going to paint everything inside here and then put the bed tops on so that I can actually reach in there and paint it all. And then I'll just go inside and do a little touch up. In fact, I'll paint the back sides of the bed tops before I'll paint the underneath side. I'll paint all the frame and everything with it off. And then I'll put the bed tops on and then just go through and touch up. It's a smarter way to do it because you'll be able to get a better paint job. And can you imagine, trying to be inside there with your spray gun? You've only got, barely enough room to get a spray gun in there. You're going to be covered in paint. Oh my God, forget that. You guys, if you want to do it that way, go ahead. I'm not doing it that way. So, in fact, if I did it that way, I'd probably set up the airless with some oil base, and I just go in there and use that. And that's because then you got a smaller gun, and but I'd suit up and just completely cover myself and crawl in there and just start spraying everything. Put one heavy coat of oil base on everything. Don't even worry about runs. Just coat it all. But I'm going to use automotive urethane on this. I'm going to do the same color as the dash inside. I'm waiting, see if Tamco got my sample. Then I'll paint all that once I get all this all welded up and all together. In the frame and everything. All I'll have to do is just put the bed tops on, and I'll have it all painted inside first. So, but anyway, this rocker, that's definitely, I might as well put that on now. And so I figure set that up and let you guys check it out in a second. All right, just weld it up real quick. Well, now that's taking shape. I did leave some holes in here, and over here, of course, to reshape that. I knew I was going to have to do that a little bit. Not much, but just a little. And then I'll grind all those down. And then I'll show you what I was talking about here. That is a pretty good sized gap. What's that? 3/4 of an inch? Maybe an inch, almost. So, yeah, so I want to put something there because, I could just imagine somebody or me or somebody dropping something down in there and losing a good tool or something. That'd be kind of a drag. And then these get little supports that go up the thing here. I got to make those. I'm sure they're just really expensive to buy. I don't even know if they're available. But anyway, I'm going to just make a little L piece for that. And then remove this little fella here. Spot weld drill and take it out. All right, well that's off. And cleaned up pretty good. All right, so here's some more mock-up stuff. Just setting this on here like that. Gotta notch out that floor right there so it comes over more. Or not notch out the floor, but notch out that filler piece there. And we marked all the rails, if you look here, where they're supposed to go. If these are just a little bit off, it's really not going to make much difference other than where the seam is for the bed pieces. So that's got to be right. But yeah, when I do this, I'm still figuring out how I'm going to do it. I may just bolt these onto the frame out there and tack them in place. That way they're square and they'll fit. So that's it has to. The main thing is this thing has to fit the machine on it. That's the most important thing. If the machine doesn't fit, we're screwed. So that's the thing that matters. I can make it look good either way. There's a ton of ways to make stuff look good, but that machine has to fit on here, so that's going to be tricky. So that one's mocked up over there. Just kind of was looking at that to see what other issues I'm running into ahead. There's always issues, it's not like HDTV where I'm making them up, this is real stuff you run into. I'm not sure what these are. These look like maybe they were the hinges. And hell, how could they be that far off? I don't think so. It doesn't matter. The hinges are going to have to be where they are, right in here. You know, I have to put the deck lid on and actually check the hinges and then mark them. And then I'm going to cut those out before I install this, because it's a lot easier to make those hinge divots like the back. To make these little reveals, I guess, what they're called, for the hinges. You know, while it's off, because I can beat them down and stuff. Hammer and chisel upside down. It'd be kind of hard to do. So I've got to get everything kind of figured out. Once I get the back piece on, I think the floor's got to go forward, but I'm not sure. I got to really check all that stuff out. It's just got to be, you know, it's a lot of things you can fake in, okay? You got to figure out what they are and what things that you can, when I say fake in, that part doesn't fit right, but the outside sheet metal has to fit right. So that's the thing, you know. You can fake in an inner panel, but the outside sheet metal, if it's going to affect the outside sheet metal, you better not. It's always good to try and make it as perfect as you can, but, you know, on something like this, I mean, literally, we're making a hot rod here. This isn't, you know, this isn't a truck rebuild. This is like, you know, we're making this. I mean, as well just say I'm making this whole back of this truck, you know, from scratch, other than just a few finished parts like the floors, and I got the quarter for that side. I still got to cut the lip off of that. You know, remember, it doesn't have the flat lip. The early vans, they didn't have that little lip that flipped out. It just was flat across. So I got to make it like that. And I can see that this thing's way too far over where it's sitting right now. Way too far over. When you got the rocker on, you can really see it. You know? So, and you can see that this is bent. Yeah, these rockers aren't the greatest anyway. That's not, the curvature of that's probably not right. You know, I'll straighten it. It'll be right when I'm done. It's just all stuff you got to do. There's every little thing has, you know, adjustments, and even brand new parts. You don't buy a brand new part and just put it on and it's going to fit. It doesn't, never happens that way. Especially, you know, when you're talking about, you know, VW stuff more than anything, because everything's so precise. You know, they don't just have like a square door panel. You know, it's rounded here and a little bit rounded over here, and the front's kind of compound rounded, and just everything's weird. You know, everything's harder to do. That's why they're harder to do. That's why the parts cost more. I mean, but still, they shouldn't cost as much as they do. But anyway, that's just the way it is. If you want to do a VW, you got to pay a lot for parts. Probably what I'm going to do next here probably is I got to cut this thing off. All that. I got to start cleaning this. And I got most of the little patches done. I've shown some of those. I don't know if I showed them all, but anyway, I got to clean this up. I got to clean off all the metal. I got like this piece I got to get out of there, so that's going to take a little while. And I've got to make that piece. Looks like that one over here, right? Gotta make that, and then I can actually put that top hat, maybe I can, all the way across. But of course it goes onto the new rail that I gotta make. Oh, I got 2 layers right here. Yeah, I gotta get that off of there too. This is all gonna come off, but just when I put it in the plate, I'm gonna use this as a guide though. That top to bottom piece there. Because I have so many measurements to remember, so I'm trying to write them down. Yeah, you know, I'm trying to just keep them together, some parts. So I'll just keep that part together until I get the quarter on. Then I'll measure it, cut the other one off. You know, then I'll make my quarter for that side. But it's going to be a while before I get to that. Of course, I got to cut this out. Just the amount of work on just this thing right here is insane. Just the amount of work on that. Just to make those 2 little panels there. cut that thing off, clean the metal off. I mean, that's going to take me probably, you know, I got to make this little thing here, fix this. It's going to take me all day to do that. Easy. Just, it doesn't take me very long to make each panel. It just, you know, especially in the heat, I've got to keep moving around and stuff. So, anyway, I think we'll just go ahead and end this one here. Talk to you guys in the next video, and I'll start over fresh on this and keep working on this, and hopefully I can, once I get this done, and I can put it in place, and we can really start putting it together. You guys can really watch the truck start to go back together. It's just interim stuff that's time consuming. I might have to even sand this down and prime it, maybe sink it underneath. Maybe I'll just paint it black real quick, sand it down really good, prime it, and do that first. I don't know. I still got to do a lot of welding on it. I have to grind everything off, so you know, I don't want to do too much, you know, counterproductive stuff, and I got to, you know, fill all that stuff, and I don't want to fill over the primer. So I think I'd rather, but underneath I might just go ahead and just prime it and paint it black, because it's easier to do now than it is when it's on the car. So the outside I'll probably leave it. Anyway, talk to you in the next one. Please like, share, and subscribe.